Hello, FIFA nerds, and welcome to the FUT podcast. This is your host, TJ, where I take you through all the lower, mid-tier, bottom-dwelling portions of Ultimate Team and FUT EAFC 24 and talk about it from the more casual perspective. Those of us that are committed time-wise but maybe have some issues with, thumbs and, quick twitch muscles and skill-based matchmakings because we don't have all the skills. This is the place for you. So we're going to talk today about all things week 2, first week for some of you getting on the game. Those of you that EA played or DGen like I did and got the Ultimate Team, maybe you're a little bit further ahead on that. Maybe you just started. Maybe you're waiting for Christmas and figuring out, is it worth grabbing it? And as someone who does a podcast on the subject, I can tell you that I enjoy this version of the game and this time of the game. Of course, the wipe nature of it has a little bit to it. But either way, thank you for listening. You're catching it either the podcast version on one of your listening apparatuses of sorts, or you possibly found this on YouTube and are being able to see the two-dimensional live face version of what's going on here, which I can't imagine adds just a whole lot, but trying some different things this year. Speaking of the unofficial, unranked, unimportant, underwhelming podcast that is for FUT FC, you may have noticed that there is a lack of something this particular week, and the lack of an intro song. And so a couple of things. This is a bit of me trying to get up to speed with this new bit that I used just to pull back the curtain. GarageBand, used some loops, threw on the FUT me and all that kind of stuff. So if you needed to, that feel like FUT me. Anyway, that was me, and that was royalty-free, use from GarageBand. But come to find out, the logarithms / the scrubbers out there do not like GarageBand loops being used, and so I either have to dice up the loop and trick it into thinking that it's not that loop, or find something else, and so I'm still looking at that. But hopefully the lack of a musical introduction does not further degrade the thought of the professional nature of this here podcast, because clearly all about being professional. So anyway, I appreciate you looking through that. I have nothing else, something to look forward to. Will there be a theme song? What will it be? Where is it coming from? I don't know, but we'll find out, and we'll find out together. So anyway, with all of that being said, I think we are ready to actually get into some content and talk a little bit about what's going on with this game. And the first thing we're going to do would be
hey, how you doing?
Well, how I'm doing, I have to say I am doing, I'm doing great. I'm happy. The game is not easy, but it is not impossible. I've had some, personnel-wise, I've enjoyed some pools. I've played with some folks. I've put together, I think I told you last week, a Serie A team that was more or less the 30K, you can build it team from, Martain. I had a couple other extra bits in there because I had packed that Inform Dybala, which I'm still, he's coming around a little bit. He's not OP. I would not be like, oh my gosh, this card, I still think that low work rate still messes with me a little bit. But either way, have him kind of playing up top, and was playing him with the Liga F striker, Oshala, who I packed, and Osholola, I'm butchering that away. The Nigerian striker, 85 rated, 91 pace, was, I can tell you it was going for about 140,000 coins on according to Footbin and my account, because I used her, enjoyed her, but decided that the worth that I could get out of that and what I could tweak the squad, I went ahead and decided it was time to sell. And if I want to pick her up later, hopefully prices will be coming down a little bit. We'll talk about the market with my ability to trade, and we'll see, what's all going on there. But just as a review, I had her up top with Dybala, El Shaarawy I have on the left, acting my left cam, left side. I will tell you that I have enjoyed that 79 so much that I have decided to do the relentless winger, which I think last week I was like, 50K, this is ridiculous. After looking at alternative options for, and what I could put together that would, still work with my team and the foundation that I have right now, like that 50K turned out to be, justified. And we'll talk a little bit about that. On the other side, I had been playing some different folks. I just went ahead and picked up Chiesa because to replace things. But, prior to that, had been running different folks. Sometimes put Dybala down there and Delafou up top, and had some different kind of angles there, but was doing all right. And then my holding midfielders being Renato Sanchez, still OP at 78. Thank goodness I packed him. I did not have to spend the actual coins for a 78. And then also Benasser, who has been okay, he's not showing up like I said, last week was kind of a surprise. He put a biscuit in the basket in some places. Maybe I was taking a few more longer shots then. But, he has not proved a disability or a liability, rather, but has not really showed up as somebody that'd be like, oh, got to keep that one in. So frequently he is one of that gets subbed out with my, bench around the 60th, 70th minute. I am subbing a little bit earlier this year, at least so far, I think, while we're on gold cards, which we're going to talk about in a second. But the idea of getting your bench in there earlier, I think, makes more sense at this time of the game. And so I have Payne on the left as a left back. She's like a 77 rated, really pacey Nigerian, also from the female, the Liga F. And so that was there to help with Kim. And was able to do that. Oh, that was right. I had Rafinha. I went ahead and bought him to get the Barca links. That was who I was playing over on the right hand side for a little bit. And then I've got Bremer, solid. If you're playing a Serie A team and you need it, though he's in some videos. This is nothing new, but he is one heck of a center back at the moment. And then I've still been this Kalulu, 78 Kalulu has been, outstanding for me. I've not had any issues where I'm like, oh, he doesn't work there. And then the Di Natale that I packed whenever I packed the 2-pack, I got the informed Dybala and the Di Natale, and I'll tell you that the Di Natale stands out more to me than the Dybala. I know he puts in goals, but man, defensively, getting forward, moving it up the wing, the way that I play the game, trying to use those edges and move things along, he has been mwah. So, again, pretty good with that. And then Chesney in goal, I went and bought and actually tried to invest in him as well, and I guess he's a better keeper than he is an investment, I'll tell you that. So, all in all, Serie A is frequently where I land. I think I might have mentioned that at the end of last year. We'll see if I end up with a Serie A team. And so that's kind of the direction that it went. And played it out and went through and ended up making it into Division 7. So, I am very pleased with that. I think, some folks are talking about once you hit Division 7, things start to really kind of, you're getting a little bit more difficult. At this point in time, if you get to Division 4, that's when you can qualify to try to, qualify for pro stuff. So it just gives you an idea, a frame of reference. Now, I didn't get to play a lot during the weekend. I know we had a bunch of new players on. I don't know if they're already in, Division 8 or whatnot, but was able to get in my games, got my 7 wins, got up to Division 7, and I'm continuing to plug away. And it's now hit or miss. And this is true. I would suggest if you're playing online and you play a rivals game and you get just thumped, that is, just give it a go. Just keep going at it, because you never know. Somebody's in there that's been playing a whole lot, and other folks that are in there that have not necessarily been, playing just a ton. So, lots of different mix. You're going to have some folks that are like, oh, they have a lot of skills. Others that are just, have a lot of cards. And skills can outdo cards still at this point. I'm a testament to that. If you wanted to see, and I think I was going to mention this at the end, every week I'm still working with Martin88, which, I think he's going to be on not next week, but week after that will be the episode. We'll be talking with him a little bit. But like I said, all the way through last year, and then I wanted to be, starting this year doing it, and I've been committed to it, and man, has it made a difference in the way that's going. But the point I wanted to mention was that if you want to look at my gameplay and figure out like just how good, bad, or otherwise this, mid-level, player is, if you want to go to my Twitch channel, I just changed it to FUT_me_pod. And so you could look there, and then I create a highlights of like games, and then that's what I share with Martin, and then that's what we go over during the course of our session. And so if you want to see the gameplay that I've submitted, then you can see that. And so that may or may not, if you're playing things in the background or anything like me, and you just occasionally like to throw some stuff on there, and you get tired of watching pros, then have at it. But the thing that I would want to just kind of mention quickly, again, I'll always plug Martin88. Check out his YouTube. He's got some stuff up there really focusing on squad battles now, but also like best kind of strikers and budget things. And like I said, I swear up and down by his team. And then the second bit is that even if you don't want to spend the money or resources or whatever, understand that watching your own gameplay can really matter. Like I'll watch with him and he'll mention things and I'm like, I know what he's going to mention when I see it. I'm like, ugh. Sometimes in the game I'm like, I remember doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I meant that to go here or there. Other times you just look and you're like, why am I doing that? Like you're so caught up in the moment, it's hard to reflect back on it. Just like I have my kids that do speech and debate. If you record yourself, look back over it, it's going to be a very different experience than you trying to remember what happened in the heat of battle, and that you're going to, what you think you're doing and what you are doing and little things like that can really make a note. So, maybe give that a try. I use Twitch because you can just put like, on the Xbox, I'm like start my stream and then do that, and then I end the stream, and then it automatically saves it there to the cloud for so long, and then you can look at it, download it, do whatever. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on coaching. One, it's working great. First part of the year, I know the temptation is to buy packs, but I'd be like, you're going to get more packs winning games than necessarily what you're going to get out of these packs that you're buying. I've not gotten a single one of the 3,000, 2,000, whatever. I spent my 40, whatever, 600, and some 500 that I had left over, and that's it. I'm putting the rest of my resources, so far have been going towards to Martine and maybe a controller later. But either way, that's just kind of where I'm at. Div 7, moving along, feel like I'm playing well. My conservative nature means that the defensive stuff, if I'm not overreacting and I'm trying to keep a shape, and so I've been trying to do that at the end of last year when things were super fast. Now they're slowed down a little bit, and I'm able to kind of do that. I feel relatively solid. Not to say that I'm not, getting lit up every once in a while, but for sure. But I will say for the folks that are like, oh my God, the game is terrible and it's broken and stuff along those lines, that it's different. It's, we're adjusting, and we'll talk a little bit about those things here in a minute. So, but now, instead of talking about gameplay, I wanted to move on to some content review. A couple of just, we've had some SBCs come out, things like that. So yay for early round SBCs. Caution, don't spend all of your stuff on it right now. I know we just got done with a version where it was like we were just putting everything into SBCs. You just have to change that mentality a little bit, be a little mindful, maybe put untradeable, mark that little box when you're doing things. Those 78 upgrades, they're no longer limited. So, are you going to gut all of your, gold commons to put them into that? We got the 83 plus upgrade today, which you have to put in a team of 82. They're trying to, start thinning out teams. If you bought a lot of packs, things like that, maybe that's the case. A couple here or there, but understand that these aren't going to be, necessarily home runs. On the other hand, I do not anticipate a whole lot of low-level SBCs coming out. So, why not? Unless you're, marquee matchups, maybe look at some particular leagues or teams that you might want to, refrain from shoving those in immediately. But, there are those that are out there. The big ones, like the Gumaras, no way I'm doing that right now. It's way too expensive. That's made for folks that are opening packs or are way too good at the game to, have all that kind of stuff. I did the Milner. He's been, solid. It was a dupes thing, and it seemed like, price-wise, it made sense to me. There's a couple of those others that are floating around that price-wise might make sense, just maybe hard to link or do things with them. So I would just say, be mindful, right? We're in the early days. These in the road to the knockout stuff. Remember, we're going to be complaining how long it takes for them to upgrade and how they're not getting, what kind of upgrades are they getting and when will those upgrades happen? All of those things. So that's a package deal. You go unlock the Reyna for free and something happens, that's one thing. You spend as much as you do on Bruno and, that doesn't go as well as you would like. Or the Silva one is another one that I'm a little leery of, just kind of, early days. Like, they're not wanting to be too OP, but some of these are more like card sucks than they are, I think, value. So I'm continuing to look. I did want to talk briefly about Evos. Like I had mentioned, I decided to go ahead and do the Relentless Swinger and spend the $50K, not $10. I'm not going to do that. That's also, please don't. I want you to play the game the way you play the game, but as soon as you start spending $10 to upgrade a card, you tell EA that you'll spend $10 to upgrade a card, and so then we go down a path that I would rather avoid. So don't do that. Do the $50K if you want to. I know it's very liquid versus fodder for an SBC, but there's that. I also understand that like an SBC, there's a timetable on it. I'm not a fan of that. It seems like if I give you 50K coins to upgrade this card, I ought to be able to upgrade it over my own sweet time, right? Maybe 30 days, but I think I have like 6 days left. It was probably 12 days or 15, however long they originally had on there, but I didn't know really what to do. And for a lot of you, you haven't done Evos yet. You're waiting to find out. You're like, what's the right one to do? You're waiting for the market prices to come down. Just keep in mind those things time out, and I assume we'll get some more at the end of it, but who knows? Right. For all we know, this will be the best moments we get all year. Evo we get all year. Something else will break. Like I don't want to even make those kinds of guesses because there is no clarity. Here's my little rant. I will say if I'm going to complain about something, we know that we get some lockups. We're getting into crashing. The direction stuff doesn't work. You have to quit out of the app. Things along those lines, which isn't unusual for a game. It'd be nice if it never screwed up or screwed up less than it did, but. It is what it is. They'll hopefully figure some of that stability issue when they do the first patch that also takes away all the fun parts of the game. But this idea of the update tracker and then being like, click on this and you can see the update. And the update paragraph is, we updated some stuff. Like, that's not clarity, right? Clarity is like, we did these things and then list the bullet points, or we fixed stability issues. Like, great. I assume when they do gameplay ones, it'll be a lot more specific. These are just so mundane. I'll assume that's why tracker update number 2 did stuff. Like, it's just underwhelming. The hope is that maybe as it gets better, it'll get better. But until then, I'm not necessarily sold or buying that. So, but I did just think, look at their clarity, but not so much clarity. So anyway, and then the last bit in terms of content, and this actually might go a little bit towards my next bit, which are, public service announcements. But I tried to trade. Right, I've always I've gotten coins early in the game before and been like, what do I want to do with these? Do I want to buy players? No, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And so, but I know coins are very valuable early on in the game. So how can you maximize those? And so I decided this year I was going to do some investing. I'm in some Discord, some people that talk about investments, and they have some suggestions. And I was looking at last year's FUT bin and what happened on the 23, and looking at the scale and when the prices dropped and rebounded. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go all Wolf of Wall Street and buy some things and pick some things. And the market kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And the day that it was supposed to kick back, I said, October 3rd, when's it going to happen? As of the recording, it was October 3rd, and it did not really happen. I think I probably lost some, or, the 5% here or there, whatever, in terms of the EA tax. I did not make that much. I turned out to be a sheep of Wall Street. So I could have lost more. Actually, the biggest loss that I've had this year so far, this is embarrassing. But while in my squads, I'm like, I want to grab a player here. So I'll go over to Transfer Market, and then El Shaarawy, I'm like, yeah, let's grab him. They're like, buy the player. I'm like, sure. I'm like, no, I want to bid on the player. So boom, 5,000, coin El Shaarawy. Now, the one upside is I'm like, well, I made somebody happy, right? It's the same thought when I used to play disc golf and you'd lose a disc. Like, well, maybe somebody will find it and they'll enjoy it. It goes on to somebody else, When you throw it in the water, it's a different story. But just, somebody else gets it, so be it. Have some coins, they'll be like, maybe I made their day. Not the last day I made. I ended up needing a Spanish goalkeeper of some sort, and so I was trying to grab somebody, and then $10,000, and I was like 10 coins. I was like, oh my gosh, stop doing it. If nothing else, I'm definitely like, no, go to bid. So if anything, I learned along the way. But yeah, the overall like investing, that's not my gig. Maybe later on. I've done some bronze pack method. I can grind out a little bit there, but I'm just not the investy type. There's a reason why my overall investing outside of EAFC is probably somewhat indicative of my overall ability to invest in things. So, but yeah, didn't necessarily lose that much, but also did not gain very much. So, but anyway, that covers, how we're doing, what's kind of going on, what I've been doing, some of the things in terms of content, all those, where I'm at so far, very healthy, positive, mindset going into things. And the last bit I wanted to kind of at least last major subject I wanted to get into was what I would call public service announcement. This just in. Clickbait on the internet is real. So if you were watching videos talking about OP attackers, OP defenders, OP this, and this is what you got to do, this keeper's great and these are terrible and this is all that, take all of that with the largest or smallest or whatever grain of salt you need to take it with, because there is no such thing at this point, right? We don't even know what OP is and OP isn't. I know that Opie was a character on, the Andy Griffith Show. Some of you are like, "What's that?" And if you're old enough to know, I can't whistle and probably can't even do that very well, and probably get copyright struck for that. But yeah, the whole idea behind, now granted, if you're a content creator and you're trying to get people to watch your things, someone's going to be like, some mediocre things to do. Get it. But I just, and so go watch, you've got your favorite folks, they have some suggestions, but understand that they are not the end-all, be-all of what is and is not in a player this year. And more so this year than any other year because play styles. Look, last year, early on in the game, we were all excited. There were a number of folks that were excited because now players that were not typically viable in the game were viable. Right, you could be a tall, big striker because of the lengthy meta, things like that all of a sudden players that would routinely be like, oh, they don't have enough pace, they are now, absolute fodder, became usable, viable players, right? And at the beginning of the season, the year, that's always a little bit better, like you can get away with like 80 pace, whereas like, in March, April, May, like, you're going to need more than that. But right now, at this state in the game, last year, everybody's like, oh, that's great. Then they patched it. Lengthy was still okay, but not as OP as it was, but those players still were able to go, and there was a whole lengthy meta, those types of deals, right? Play styles, I think, is the 2.0 version of that, where you're going to be able to use what used to be traits but are play styles, which maybe have a bit more, they're more precise, there's more of them, you can do more combinations of them from their perspective of putting that together. To offset a player that maybe doesn't have, pace or certain things that would do there, so that they are not just like, oh, if you're not fast, if you're not first, you're last, kind of Ricky Bobby mentality that a lot of folks have when it comes to picking players and what metrics they looked at. And so Playstyle Plus, a whole nother element to that that's going to, now over the course of the game, are they going to nerf this or buff this or do that? And when Playstyle Plus is good on keepers and everybody's going to lose their mind. And, all of these things in the tube, it's going to continue to evolve. But the thing that I think we have a real good core, at least right now until they patch it, is that a lot of different players are viable. So that means when folks are like, this one's OP and this is great and this has this, that's good information to know. You aren't going to get a chance to play with all the cards. So having somebody's feedback on that to kind of guide you in a direction or whatever. But my team, to be honest, was roughly built. And then I saw the video. I was like, oh, I had a Serie A base working from anyway. So this makes sense to kind of plug it in. So I did that. I wasn't going to just can everything that I had and be like, okay, starting all over. Right. I knew that packing Harry Kane early on was going to be like, he's probably going to be all right, but he's tradable, get the coins. Same thing with Oshola, tradable, get the coins. So that's where I, played with them, did those things, but always had in mind, like, I'll get the coins and I can always go back and get them at a later date if necessary, or find something else, or, that's the glory part about this game for me, is frequently in the packs and the rewards. That dictates my personnel. I like being like, oh, I need to use these instead of I have a thing. That's why I didn't do any like squad builder stuff or anything before the game came out, because I build mine a lot based on what I get and then kind of use that to do my vibes and so forth. I am mainly playing with one team. I got an objective team to do those kinds of grinds and things like that, but definitely have one team at the moment, which is this Serie A, and is now a La Liga base, because out of my 83 by 10 pack, which was one of the season rewards, Rodman was in there. She's now a super sub. Love her. Then I ended up actually, and this is another reason why it was easy enough for me to get rid of or to feel okay selling up Oshola and not have to like buy anything to replace. Also ended up moving along Rafinha, made a few thousand coins off of him, but I ended up packing Rodrigo, which no playstyle plus, 4-star, 88 pace, just up there as a striker. And so with him and Chiesa, and then I had also packed Kamavinga. So I'm trying him out as a holding along with Renato, and that's got the team on 33 Kim. So that's, where I've moved to, and I don't know if any of those pop up in people's things, right? Do this Evo card, do this, do that. Like, you can maximize some stats, things like that, feel free, but know that your gameplay and game style has as much to do with it. And I cannot tell you the difference in my play this year, where instead of going online and looking for like, oh, what meta tactic works, shoving that on, then going into the game and then trying to react to my opponent based on the instructions I have mine in, I have a clear idea of how I want to get into dangerous areas when I'm on the offense, work in the wide, get over into the top side of the box, work my way in. This is not just get to the end line and cut back, right? But I know that the dangerous part is to get in the final third, get on those edges of the box, work my way in from there, and then see what happens. And having that kind of mentality drives who I want in certain positions and how I want to play with them and things like that. So I have a game plan going in, and then I can focus on solid defense and then institute my game plan. And that has been, all the difference this year. I'm not trying to figure out and then within my game plan, I can figure out do crosses work? Do early crosses work? Should I be driving this? Should I be using some of the the precision passing, not doing precision shooting, because there's nothing precise about me. Headers are, and power shots do seem a little easier to kind of deal with this year in terms of, getting them off and getting them on goal and stuff. So maybe, precision shooting would be something, but a lot of times those extra little bits for somebody like me who's already trying to just gain composure and not freak out and just snatch at the ball every time I get it in the box. Adding those extra elements is just going to drive me crazy / distract and make things, worse than they're going to be better, right? I try to little things, that I'm trying to work in, and then once that becomes seamless, I can add a little something else to that, right? I'm not, we are not built to grab the controller, know all the stuff like I can, Tekken Mortal Kombat and make everybody do all the things that I want them to do when I want them to do it, right? So within that, these other little things, finding out little ways to use them, but certainly not a point of, emphasis at this point. So I would also say, regardless of these videos that talk about who's great and not great, these are gold cards. Composure might be up, but then something else is going to be down. And maybe aggression is up, but something else is going to be down. Speed is up, but this is down. They have issues, weak feet, the ability for them to be able to ping the ball across the pitch. That kind of stuff is not available on a 78, 80, 81, 82, 84, 85, 86 rated players, right? We're talking, we're not even in the 90s. Think about the way that jump and the power curve and those things work. And so just keep that in mind. And if pass goes awry, you should expect that's going to happen. They're not all going to go where they're going to go. Weak foot, so try to pass off the other one. Just you have to be more aware of your players. With that in mind, I don't know if you go in and change so that your player name, like the actual character name, is above them instead of like your name or whatever. 100% say go in and change that so that you can see who they have and who they're playing with and who you have, so that you can kind of be able to do that. So just know your boo. If you're playing with gold cards, understand that they're gold cards. Don't try to ask them too much, and don't be too mad at them whenever they aren't able to deliver what we would want to do. And keep in mind their play styles, right? You don't have to initially shove one in just because somebody has a regular dead ball or not a dead ball, or like I was thinking, the power shot play style. You don't have to try to power shot everything, but you should be aware, like, oh, this is a utility that I have with this player. It's another reason why playing with the same folks over and over again versus constantly kind of shifting things around can, in a long term, maybe give you a little bit better knowledge feel and just kind of playing with those folks. So again, be aware of that as we go. So we're coming here to the end. Like I said, don't want to really extend this out too much longer, but I did have a couple of parting shots just to FYI in terms of if you were wanting to know about things. One, if you want to support the podcast monetarily by throwing a quarter my way, apparently there's a link on I think the Buzzsprout site or whatever. So that option is available. Clearly, like everybody else, if you want to smash some likes and subs and like stars and things like that, that would be really neat. Not necessarily that it's going to change the dynamic of my reach, but I just feel better. And I was like, oh look, somebody gave me some stars. So star me up if you want to. And then the YouTube bit, if you want to go over there and see the live action version of this, have at it. You'll get to see what fancy non-green screen underproduced pod looks like in person. So bring it on. And then lastly, just a quick reminder, if you want to check out I'm at TJ_WHIZ on X. I want to say formerly known as Twitter, but I guess we're to a point now where we're going to stop saying that and just we're giving up the idea that X used to be like a party drug, and now it's like Elon's message app. So catch me on X. And also, like I said, the FUT_me_pod on Twitch, if you want to check that out. If I'm live streaming, you're like, oh, he's streaming, let's go check him out and see what he says. I will say nothing, right? All I do is turn it on and then record. I don't try to. I'm not streaming. I am recording gameplay. So if there was ever, if you were ever like, man, I really want to watch you stream, I would be like, oh my gosh, go watch some paint dry. Or there's plenty of others. Check out Kev from Nothing But a Foot Thing. There's plenty of other folks out there that might be a bit more viable. But right now, the content that I am trying to create, which I can't even do actively now because, that's why we don't have an intro song and things like that. So the idea of me also streaming at some point in time was probably a fool's errand to begin with. And I think those of us that are, this is really geared for, we don't have that kind of time always, but we have time occasionally to I'd like to think about foot, but I can't play foot, so maybe I'll listen to foot. And so here you are, listening to foot. So thank you, foot nerds. I appreciate it. We are now into episode 2. I will quickly lose track of the episodes, but thank you so much for listening, dropping by, any kind of feedback, thoughts, prayers, all the things that we want to give each other in these times of triumph or trials. We're here for it. And at the end of the day, if you're like, I just want to wring the neck or break the controller or whatever, because you can't get out of whatever division you're in or can't get that last Evo,